Hey, welcome to another episode of the Bantu Boyz Podcast. I'm your host, Baleko Wisa, here with
Julian
and
Patrick Delabanza.
All right, today's topic is going to be called music and law. All right, we have a wonderful, impressive guest that's making me question everything I've done in life. All right, so today's guest is a music lawyer who currently serves as a legal and business affairs manager and A&R at Columbia Records. In 2012, she began her legal career as a trainee solicitor at the prestigious London law firm Slaughter & May. 2 years later, she was admitted as a solicitor. Is that right? Solicitor? No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, there it is. And began practicing as a corporate finance lawyer. During her time as a corporate finance lawyer, she advised multinational companies as well as represented the African Export-Import Bank, a pan-African multilateral trade finance institution, on various financing transactions across Africa. In 2017, she entered her current career trajectory by becoming global legal counsel to Bantu music pioneer, Mr. Eze. Is that correct? I don't want to mispronounce. Easy? Oh, okay, right, easy. As it wasn't easy. As his counsel, she negotiated various commercial, publishing, and licensing deals with labels and distribution companies in Africa, the UK, and the US. She would also represent and advise other notable artists and personalities such as YC, R2, Legendary Beats, and Eddie Kadi. It is our pleasure to welcome to the podcast, Christel Kayibi. Kayibi? Christel Kayibi.
Yeah.
Hey, we should definitely clap for me doing that intro. We should definitely clap.
I know.
Man, you really got through it, man. I know it was.
This is incredible. First of all, Christel, thank you for being here.
Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
Merci. Okay, so we're gonna get right. Well, first of all, how are you doing? How are you doing with the corona and everything? And
I'm okay. I mean, work is still business as usual, so I'm just normally in my kitchen, my now desk and my now office just working. But yeah, music hasn't really stopped. It's kind of the same. Obviously, we're recorded music and not live.
Yeah.
But our kind of business hasn't changed. It's just everyone's working from home. Everyone's doing calls from home, which was nice at first. But I think I'm in my 11th week now.
Yeah.
It's getting a bit much now. I'm like, oh, actually, I want to see my friends.
Right.
I want to have more options than, do I hang out in my room or in my living room? So.
Wait, you're in London?
Yes, I live in London now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how much we need people? I didn't know we needed people this much. Like, I need to be around people.
Yeah, I think also, especially when you're like, when you finally get a job where you're like, I actually like my colleagues. I like being around these people, and now it's like taken away from me. But I have good chats with all like my colleagues that they're not just in my colleagues, they're also my good friends. So we chat daily. We still speak to each other and start the day, with some words of affirmation, and we just debate stuff. So we're still kind of in contact, but you're just not physically there.
Yeah, very tough. Yeah. So let me ask you this: for our American audience, because we're based out of LA.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between being a solicitor versus being a lawyer here in the States?
Okay, so the main difference is in the UK, we have a separation of a solicitor and a barrister, which you guys don't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys have the amalgamation of the two roles, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is, as a solicitor, you're more transactional based, you're more drafting, you're more negotiations. And a barrister is actually the person that goes to court and tries cases. So barristers tend to be litigation-based lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Compared to, barristers can do both because they are actually trained as lawyers as well, or solicitors, but they are not solicitors. I think it's more that they can do a lot more than we do, so they can still draft stuff and whatever because they're still regulated. But we as a lawyer, unless you have like a special qualification to be able to be heard in certain courts, we couldn't go and represent someone in court. You could do it in small claims court and certain lower courts. Like you wouldn't be able to go to the our Supreme Court or the House of Supreme Court or the other one, I can't remember now. It's not one of those.
Okay.
In the UK,
So Yeah, is a Juris Doctorate, is it like an undergraduate degree or is it like a post-undergrad or postgraduate degree like here in the States?
I know
No,
the
we
J.
don't have that. We don't
What?
have that. We don't have that. So we go to uni and we study. You can study well. There's two different parts of doing it, right? So you can do the law side, which is you study law and you get an LLB. So it's a qualifying legal degree, which means that you have to study certain subjects, and I think you have to have a certain amount of subjects studied to be able to get that. That's when you get your LLB. Well, some people just get BA Hons, but that's not a qualifying legal degree. And then you go to law school. So you do law school for a year, or someone like me, I did law school in 6 months. Or you do the other route where you can just study whatever the hell you want, which I was considering doing. So I actually went to study American Studies. And then you take a 1 year conversion course, which is called the GDL, which then converts your BA Honours course into a qualifying legal degree because you study certain of the core things of contract, tort, equity, trust, those core modules. And then you do another year of law school for 6 months if you do the accelerated course. So in all, it's either 4 years, or 3.5 years, or 5 years, or 4.5.
Okay.
So Patrick, how long was law school for you, Patrick?
Law school is 3 years, but so you do undergrad and then after that 3 years of law school. If you do, full time, but obviously, you meet people do part time. That's a whole other thing. But that's because I remember when I was looking at your bio, Christel, and it was like 7 months. I was like 7 months for law school. Jesus.
Yeah. So my law. So how it also works, I'm not sure how you guys do it, but you will apply to certain law firms in your second year. So in your, would you guys call it sophomore year or technically for
2L, but yeah.
Yeah, so your second year you apply to law firms, and then if you get one, then they will sponsor you to go to law school. And the firm that I got into, so Slaughter May, at the time they were trialing this new accelerated LPC. So it basically was the 1 year course. Sorry, guys, get my door. 1 second.
No, go ahead.
Man, can I just say, once
Patrick,
again, Europe, man.
Patrick, you love it. You love this conversation.
I'm just like, yo, man. When you hear about things that they do in Europe, you're like, man, why can't it be like that here?
It's so much structure. Europe is so much structure.
It's the grid of the system.
God,
yeah, it's like, it's funny. We've been doing this podcast for whatever, like 9 months, and every time I hear about the education in Europe, it's like, a system to help the people.
Yeah, it's very different. Our system is very, very different compared to. I think as well, it's more. Let's just get it done and move on and do the other. And it's not such a big business as it is in the States, right? It's not really privately owned. It's very government regulated in terms of how much you charge.
Can I ask you a question, Christel? So, in law school, does the government pay for it? Is that something you guys have to pay?
So it depends. I got mine paid for, so Slaughter May paid for me to go to law school, and they also gave me a grant to not work while I was in law school.
Wait, they gave you wait. They gave you a what?
Yeah, they gave me a living grant so that I didn't have to work. So I didn't have to work while I was at law school, so that you don't have to worry. Because obviously they understand that some people have the financial constraints that you can't afford to be at law school all day, every day, and then keep yourself afloat.
When our American people hear this,
I'm really just like, so.
It's like they're missing some stuff.
Oh God! Oh, that's hilarious. So wow, when she comes and joins us.
Yeah.
Wow, so I'm gonna ask her a question. I know I'm gonna be devastated by the answer. I already know what she's gonna say.
Yeah, sorry, what was you saying?
So what you're saying is you don't owe any money, no loans or anything like that?
You did if you got it at university. Yeah. But again, at the time that I studied, university was only $3,000 a year.
I'm gonna get up and leave right now.
They're capped. Yeah. They're capped. So it's like $3,000 a year capped.
Julian, why'd you leave? Why did you leave? I don't understand. Why'd you come here? Oh my God!
Wow.
So, are there a lot of black female solicitor? Do you?
There's not that many. I think that there are a few. I mean, I can't talk about the whole industry as a whole, but I can give you, like, for example, when I was at school from May, there was maybe 5.
Mm-hmm. Do you often find yourself?
There were 6 in the firm of maybe 300 lawyers. There were 6 black female lawyers.
Yeah.
Is there in London, is there like a black like lawyer organization? I know in the States there's a lot of those, like, you know, there'll be like black doctors organization. Patrick, I'm pretty sure you know there's like black lawyer organizations, stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, there are a few, but they're very like informal, as in they're not necessarily like very widely accepted. Maybe it's like, you know, us in the black community accept them, but they're not very like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
So there definitely is like a Black Young Professionals Network. There is a Black Lawyers Network, the BLM. There definitely are. There are things, but they are things that probably have started in our community, right? So people within our community felt that this is what's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah.
So, like, I'll go to the next one. So, like, how did you go from like corporate finance, energy and infrastructure to like the entertainment business? Because that's two different. I mean, I'm assuming it's 2 different things, but is it not? Like,
yeah, no, different. It was, you know, I always say it's God, because it wasn't something that I had initially thought about. I think it's very strange because, and I always hate having to say these. Whenever I tell people these stories, it's like it always seems like it's name dropping, and honestly, it's not.
Hey, drop those names. Drop.
But I lived in Ghana in 2016, so I quit my job working for a law firm here, and I moved to Ghana, and I was working for a law firm in Ghana.
Wow!
Because I really wanted to do stuff in the continent, and yeah, I really wanted to do stuff in the continent. I left London to Ghana. And at the time, I was friends with Fuse ODG, who's like a big kind of Afrobeat pop artist here. So I used to go to his house a lot during my lunch breaks. And one day I was there, and Burna Boy was there. And this was like my first time I ever met him. This was like 2016. This was like the first time I ever met him. And we were just like all hanging out and chilling and talking, and they were just kind of talking about the music industry. And just things that they were doing and whatever. And I remember saying to them, I was like, you know what? I really love to start a law firm where like I could represent you guys and like set the standard, and you know, all my artists would like kind of get the same thing. I remember we were just talking about it, and then Fuse was like, yeah, no, you should definitely do it. Like, definitely do it. But I never really took it seriously. It was just like a conversation. It was just, you know, sitting around. So I remember seeing Bernard the next day again when we were all out, and we were just, again, I was talking about it, and he was just like, yeah, no, definitely, like, do it. And then forgot about it, carried on doing my day job. I was in energy and infrastructure at this time. And actually, I moved to Ghana because I really wanted to move into that space of like doing finance transactions involving the continent. That's why I couldn't get a job in London, so I made a very big gamble to quit my job here, move to Ghana to get experience, with the hopes that a firm will hire me back to London. Which actually did happen, and it happened a bit earlier than I thought it would be, because I moved to Ghana like August, and by like October, a firm had called me and said, we want to interview you. And then they offered me the job in November, but I said, look, I paid rent in Ghana, I'm going to be here for 6 months, so I'm going to stay. Ended up staying into January 2017 when I moved back. I've already had those conversations saying, I want to do music law, but now I'm back to London to work in energy and infrastructure again. And then, strange enough, when I was in London interviewing, my friend who I met, there was like a thing in London that was called like Afrobeat karaoke. And I met a guy called Niger Boy. And to this day, like, I never stopped thanking Niger Boy. But he randomly hit me up when I was in Ghana and was like, yo, Easy needs a lawyer. I told him you're really dope. So can you please represent him? And I was like, but I'm not a music lawyer. He was like, it's fine. He knows that. Don't worry, I've told him. But just, like, I was like, okay, cool, I'm coming. This was when I was in Ghana. I was like, cool, I've got a friend's wedding So I'm coming back to London in a few weeks. When I get back, I'll sit down and chat with him. So I remember meeting him. It was really late, maybe like 11 or midnight in London, and he had just finished a show. So he was like, "Yeah, come meet me there, and then we'll go have dinner." So we ended up sitting there having dinner. He's telling me about what he wants to do. I'm telling him about what I want to do.
Right.
And he was like, "Okay, great, but how much do you charge? Because, you know, I know you're not doing this because you're Mother Teresa." And I remember that. I know you're not Mother Teresa. And I said, honestly, like, I made good money as a corporate lawyer. Like, so for me, it wasn't the money that was the issue. For me, it was just I wanted to get into this space. I really wanted to, you know, I really wanted to start working in music. So I came back to Ghana. We switched numbers, but he never called me. He never emailed me. I said, you know, it's fine. Like, I went back to my life in Ghana, already knowing I was going to come back to London. And then some of my friends, strange enough, one of my friends hit me up like early January when I got back from Ghana and was like, "Oh, can you just do me a big favor?" And I was like, "What's the favor?" And she was like, "I'm casting for a video and I need a dark-skinned girl." And I was like, "I'm not a video girl, I don't do videos." But I know, but like, I'm really like, every girl that I've seen is not working and I need your look. And then I said, I'm not a video girl. And I said, "Oh, whose video is it?" She goes, "Oh, Mr. Easy's." And I was like, "Oh no, I definitely can't do that." And then so I didn't go to that shoot. And then the next day, my friend who's a director, TK, he's Zimbabwean. He lives in Zimbabwe now, actually. He called me and said, "Yo, I remember that you said that you were supposed to be working with Easy, but he hasn't hit you back. Come to this shoot. Like, you definitely see him. Come to the shoot." Yeah. So I was like, "Okay, cool." So I went to the shoot, and literally the minute Easy saw me, he was like, "Weren't you supposed to be my lawyer?" I was like, "Yeah, but you didn't email me." And he was like, "Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay, cool. I'm gonna email you." And that's just how we started rocking. So yeah, I was working with him for just over 3 years. So that's kind of how it started. So I just started off with Easy, just learning. And one of my partners in the law firm was supervising me with that kind of advice. Yeah. I told him, "Look, like this artist has reached out to me. I know I can't really do it alone, so can I do it with concerns?" He was like, "Yeah, as long as there isn't any conflict, then, you know, do it." And he's like, "You know, we've got colleagues in the States I'm sure can help you. As long as there isn't any conflict and we're not representing any of the labels, then sure, do it." So that's what I did. I literally was doing my music. I was doing finance law, working incredible hours as a finance lawyer by day, and then being a music lawyer when I got home. So whatever time I'd get home is then when I'll start doing stuff or whatever.
Okay.
Which industry do you find the toughest? Is it corporate or music?
Corporate.
Okay.
Well, corporate was definitely.
Why so?
Corporate's more high stakes. It's more stressful. There's more risk. Because, you know, I think it's also different whenever people meet me now and they think like I'm this baby lawyer, right? That they've never met before. But it's like, no, I've handled $1 billion deals before. So, you know, you're playing with a lot bigger numbers, with people that understand, you know, the urgency of the matter. You're also dealing with, you know, now in music, if I don't get something done by 6 o'clock, my boss is like, "Oh, you know, go home." Whereas in corporate, it's like, no, you're forced to stay there until you're done. So if you told the client the document's going to be out by 6 this evening may mean 1 a.m. This evening may mean 7 a.m. the next morning. So you're constantly working just to meet these things. Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I'm thinking with like with music, you have to deal with like personalities, you know, and like some artists lack like sort of like proper infrastructure. I know I'm thinking of American artists. You know, that's not tough as well. You know, hey, we have to have a meeting at 7. And it's like, oh no, I'll be there when I'll be there. I'm an artist.
Nah, I mean, luckily for me, as a business affairs lawyer, I can be quite tough about my time. Mm-hmm. I think as an AR is very different, but as a business affairs lawyer, I can be quite tough about my time and be like, "No, I finish at 6, and 6 I'm done." Right? Mm-hmm. As an A&R, that's different, but I think that's why I love being a music lawyer, because I am a people person. I think that is why I struggle with corporate law, because corporate law, as much as they say it's collaborative and you are working with a team, there were certain times when I'm on a transaction, it's just me and the partner, and he's gone home. He's fucked up home. So can I say? Yeah. No. He's gone home to have dinner with his family because he knows that he's not responsible for that. You know, he's not doing the work.
Right.
So some days you're there late, just working by yourself. And so I didn't find it as collaborative. Like I didn't find it as, you know.
Right.
But no, I'm a people person. So for me, handling the egos is not a problem. I think as a woman, I find it so hilarious as well because I'm always handling men's egos, which I find, and I find it funny because I think as a woman, you can kind of disarm it as well. I think it's easier to kind of disarm it and bring it down when you're dealing with men compared to like another man with like his egos also involved. I can just kind of be like, okay, you know, how about let's try this and let's do that. So it doesn't really bother me, but as I'm a people person, music is very social, like, you know.
Oh, right.
It's going to events late after the, you know, you've done a full day in the office and you're still going to an event, or you're going to dinner with someone, or you're doing, I enjoy it. Like, for me, that's where I thrive.
I have a question about music, but I'll ask you later. You want to go, Patrick or Joan? This is so great, Christel. This is great. You guys want to go to that next question, number 4? This is great.
So here in the age of social media and streaming, how has that affected the function of an AR? Such as, you know, artist development and analytics, fake numbers and stuff like that?
To some degree, I think streaming has democratized music. So it means that, you know, we can focus on a lot of different artists at the same time. You know, because before it was like, it's whoever demos you got is who you'd be aware of. Whereas now it's like, you know, I can go on Spotify and see what is trending. I can, you know, even if like now, you know, when Spotify makes like playlists for you, like after you've listened to a few hours of music, Spotify will start generating playlists based on what you're listening to. So also that's a good way for us to discover new things. Because, you know, Spotify might put something on a playlist and be like, oh, I've never heard this before. And then you're able to actually like look at their other work and look at the things that they've done and be like, oh, okay, dope. I think fake numbers, I don't know, I'm not really the person that agrees to the fake number point.
Because you know sometimes Christel, like you'll see like these artists where they'll have these crazy numbers and they listen to their song and it'll be like, I don't understand how this number has this many numbers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if there's this thing where you can like buy, I've heard of like people buying Spotify plays or buy like to make their numbers look good. Because if your numbers look good, the algorithms of the machine can put you up in, oh, I can get on a Drake playlist. I can get on a Nipsey Hussle playlist. And then my career starts. You know, I'm verified and etc.
Yeah, I definitely have heard about that. I definitely have heard, you know, there are, I mean, we definitely do as a legal department, obviously, because I wear my 2 different hats. But as a legal department, we definitely do get emails that do talk about stream manipulation, right? And that can even be done within the label. So if it's a label telling people, stream this track, I'm not saying the labels do it, please, I'm not saying that.
No, of course not.
It can be that easy to manipulate if you were that type of label to say, I need everyone in this building to stream this track, keep streaming. Because obviously you're streaming from your personal accounts, right? So how are they going to know that you are a label person who's just streaming the same track over and over and over again? So definitely stream manipulation does exist, and I think labels are trying to make sure that their personnel aren't doing it. So as a label person, actually, you're not supposed to buy your artist's music. There are certain things that labels put in place so that no one can say, well, actually, these numbers have been manipulated. But yeah, I guess that does exist. I think in every system there's always space for manipulation or for people to use it in the wrong way. I think that's always open to, you know, wherever there's technology and human beings. Right. You know, and everything. So I think definitely, but I think at the same time, it's like numbers from a label point of view are 2 different things. So I would care as a business first person because I care about how much money we're making.
Right.
So I only care about the numbers, you know, to calculate how much have we actually made from this artist. And I think artists really care about it more because of egos and being able to say, I stream so much, and for chart purposes, right? So it depends on what you're looking at, from what position you're looking at it. But from my legal and business affairs hat, for me, it's just more money. But I can see what that money is just looking at the financials. I don't need to look at the numbers to prove anything. I can just look at how much we've got, but I understand from the A&R point of view, yes, because we do look at that. We do still have data-led A&R. So what songs are actually streaming well, and what viral hits are streaming well, which is why you get the hits like Lil Nas X, for example. That was a very data-led A&R process.
Right.
So that was actually found internally in the UK. It was just streaming heavy, and that was one of our data-led people that we tracked all that data. So that that song streaming heavy, let's go and sign it. So that was what Lil Nas X was an example of that. It was very data-driven. It wasn't very organic. We know this kid that we've followed for a long time. Just the package of streaming, guys. Let's jump on it, and you jump on it, and you amplify, and you make it bigger than it is. But there's loads of songs like that where it's like very data-driven.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you believe that the artist is a proper artist proposition, or if you just think that this song is good, we can ride it for as long as we can.
Right.
It just depends. I think Blueface is also one of those examples where it's very data driven. The song was streaming heavy.
As a, if you can stay here and keep your A&R hat on, how has streaming services affected artist development? Because like I'm just thinking like somebody like one of my favorite rappers, Kendrick Lamar, he had mixtapes that were albums for like 2 or 3 like albums, and then he got on Aftermath and it's like, well, Dre doesn't have to develop him. He already built a fan base, figured out style and sound. How is artist development affected? Whereas like in the 80s or 90s, you get an artist, you build them up. How does that?
I don't think it's affected it as much. I think in the market, we've all kind of just accepted that there is the data-driven A&R process and a very organic A&R process, right? And I think as a label, you can't ignore either. In that, it takes a long time for you to get an artist from zero to Drake. Right. Invest organically in that person, but you still got to pay bills and you still got to make sure you're making money as a label. So your data-led A&R is for singles and hits that you think are going to generate cash quickly in that time. So I think, how has it affected it? I don't think it's affected it much. You can still do organic A&R. There are still loads of artists. Coffee, for example, was the artist that signed to Columbia Records, and she was a very organic A&R type person. When I joined the label in January 2017, I remember one of my first label meetings, they were discussing Coffee, and I didn't know about this person before I joined the label. And now seeing her from, I didn't know her, to this, that is a good example of an organic A&R story. But unfortunately, it's still a business and we're still in the music business. And organic A&R is still very time consuming and costly. So you still need to offset that with more data-driven A&R to be able to generate that cash quickly on artists that don't need that development. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't still be developed, because I think we are in danger of having a few artists who don't know how to perform, don't know how to create a body of work, because all they know is how to make singles.
Right.
But when it comes to actually making a body of work, it's a bit problematic. So, I still do believe that still needs to happen. There still needs to be emphasis that even if people are being found on streaming platforms and we're signing them, that we still need to know how to develop them. But I think that's also up to the artist and their attitude towards the music business and labels, and allowing labels to actually develop them. Because I think sometimes with artists is, once they've had like 1 or 2 tracks, it's like, well, I know what I'm doing. The label can't teach me anything. When it's like, no, because it's still a music business. There is still a science to this to some degree. There is still something that a label can still do to push you or to. Sorry, let me just.
No. Yeah. She's giving us gold right now.
Yeah, man.
This is incredible.
Yes, so there is still, I think sometimes the attitude towards artists is, I made the hit single, no label can tell me anything, the label's just a bank. Whereas when you see, and I always tell artists, it's like, name a superstar that isn't signed to a label. And I'm not saying like, name a good hit, name like a good artist, but a superstar. for people on the Drake, the Nicki Minaj, the Beyonce levels. And they're superstar, and Drake could still leave a label, but he's still at Universal. Because you understand the machine, you understand what that machine can do for you.
Let me tell you something right now. You just blew my brain because there's like rappers here in the States where you see these posts where they're just like, stay independent, stay independent, stay independent, stay independent. But it's like all the big artists, they're still signed. There has to be a reason. They're not dumb. Like somebody's they've been around for 15 years. Like I'm not saying Beyonce doesn't need it, but from the outside looking in, it's like I can't do everything on my own, right?
Yeah, you definitely can't. And I think that's the perception that streaming does. You know, you've got one hit, and kudos. I think it's amazing. Any artist that can get one hit, and when I say hit, as in you're streaming 50, 60, 70 million streams on one song. Any artist that can do that, kudos to you, because that's amazing. For you to be able to get fans to become consumers and loyalists to that point that they're streaming your music, I think that's fantastic. But I think let's not forget how fickle music is as well, because your single's great this week and then somebody else's single's great next week.
Right.
But I think the job of I remember I was watching something on social media. It was actually an IG live on social media marketing, which when I looked at the context of music, I was like, that makes sense when you're talking about turning a fan from just a casual fan to someone who's a loyalist and a consumer and someone that actually buys your product, right? For people like Frank Ocean's fans, who Frank Ocean won't drop an album for 2-3 years, but his fans will still wait for that album when it comes out to listen to it.
Tyler, the Creator.
There are people that have that following where they've been able to turn these people into loyalists and consumers.
Can I tell you? I'm sorry, not to cut you off. So in LA, there's like this thing called Randy's Donuts. Patrick and Julie, you know where that is, like by the. Tyler, the Creator, posted on IG, "I'm gonna be there in an hour," and I saw the line. Like was like around. I was like, and this was like maybe 4 years ago, before he had like the big like Grammy music. His fan base is so freaking loyal.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's crazy.
So that's what you need to do. And I think that's also what a label is that's the position a label is trying to get you to. Because music is fickle, right? Music is fickle, music changes fast. As I said, streaming and the internet has democratized music. So there's millions of artists. Before we could only count maybe 10, 20 main artists. But now there's thousands of artists. All fighting for everyone's attention, so all fighting for the very limited time that you spend listening to music.
Wow.
Now, how do you turn those people into loyalists so that they spend their time listening to you?
Wow. See, this is great. Do you, Julian, you want to go to number 5?
Let me actually
go ahead. Sorry.
Let me get that one. And before we do that, I think we need to hear a word from our sponsor. So
we're
back.
Hi, my name is Loso. Need to try to get a car, but you can't because you got bad credit? That's okay. No credit? That's all right. Just got your stimulus check? Don't spend it on that family. Come down to Modesu's Car Sales. That's right, Modesu's Car Sale. We'll take good care of you. Don't even have a job? That's all right. All we need is everything from you. Make sure you just sign here, here, and here. All right, and make sure you call 1-888-242-2431. That's 1-888-242-2443. Make sure you come down to Modesu's Car Sales, and we'll take good care of you, Loso.
Disclaimer, Modesu Auto Sales. As in no warranty. You will pay all costs for all repairs on this vehicle. This vehicle may not be roadworthy and is not presented as being roadworthy. You must check this vehicle by yourself or have a mechanic examine this vehicle for damage. Actually, fuck that. No use of a mechanic. Types of damage that may exist but not limited to: may fail, state inspection, may have flood damage, may have a cracked head or engine block damage, engine may be damaged or require replacement, transmission may be damaged or require replacement, differential may be damaged or require replacement, frame may be cracked, bent, or unsafe. Thank you for shopping at Modesu Car Sales.
Loso.
And we're back.
All right, we're back. All right, welcome back to the Bantu Boyz Podcast. We're here talking about law and music.
I gotta say, with that sponsor, I need a car. He looks trustworthy. I might have to go get in on that right there.
I can't see it on my end. I'm so upset.
Oh man.
I can't see it.
But everybody, Modesu Auto Sales, guys. If you need a car, definitely hit them up.
Yeah, with those artists you signed, that night, to my dealership. I'll take good care of them.
Oh,
we got Julie. Go to number 5.
Number 5. So now for a simple question, should artists still be entering into 360 deals?
I know, fun, right?
Dun, dun,
So
dun.
this is strange because I think I'll answer. No, do you know what? So all right. Let me be as objective as possible.
Yes.
Because let me not keep because obviously I also manage artists, so let me try and be objective as possible. Should they sign 360? It depends on the 360, right? Again, we have very different systems from how the US have. So, me at Sony, I've never seen a 360 where we've included publishing and all that type of stuff because we have the clear boundaries that we don't do with publishing. So it's never going to be in your contract in terms of we're not going to say that we own any of the publishing at all. Should a label get 360s based on live, merch, sponsorship, all that? Yes, it depends on what that label has done to increase your profile, right? So if I took you from day zero, so in the case of an organic deal, organic A&R transaction, where I've taken you from day zero, no one knows you, right? Because sometimes that's the case with a lot of these artists. We don't know, no one really knows them. Maybe you have 1,000 monthly followers on Spotify, but we've all listened to your music in the meeting, and someone's like, yeah, great, this person's potential, right? So you've gone from zero to being able to sell 10,000 capacity shows. And as a label, I have done that. Would you say it's unfair for me to say, can I get 10% of that?
No.
I see.
Yeah.
Right? Would it be fair to me to say, let me get 20% of that? Because in effect, I was the vehicle by which, well, not entirely, I didn't do the work entirely, but I was the vehicle by which a lot of the work on propelling your image was done, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had the PR teams that pushed PR for you. I had the marketing teams that knew where to pitch your music and to do this. So is it unfair for me to say, well, I'd like 20% of anything that you make from live merchandise or sponsorship? I don't see that as being unfair. Where I think it's unfair is when people are going into the very dangerous territories where it's like, and I've seen this before, where it's like, we're getting 70% of all your income.
Jeez.
That's a very different deal altogether. Whereas like there's no differentiation from the music and the other stuff, right? Whereas like I'm getting, all your income comes to me, and then I take 70% and you take 30%. Those are different. I think those are the type of 360s that people should be wary about. But in terms of, from my experience in the music industry, those are not the ones that we're not offering that at Sony. But I also do understand the label's point of view to say, well, I put some money in, I've paid people that work for the label, to push you. So why should I not get a cut of that?
Yeah.
See, that's what's interesting. Like you just hear so many artists complain about the labels, and I can understand like an artist like that built themselves up, right? That's like, oh, I spent 10 years building up a fan base or whatever. But if you partner with somebody and you go into their business, you're in their business. Am I wrong to think that? Like if I go sign with Sony, it's like, well, you're with Sony, so Sony's gonna have demands. They don't need you, you need them because they can get somebody else. I don't know. Am I wrong to think that?
But I would say that inherent to all of it is like, and Chris obviously correct me, but there's because any contract, it's a negotiation, it's leverage. There's gonna be good and bad for both sides. Yeah. And obviously how much leverage you have will determine, the good terms versus the bad terms. So at the end of the day, you can always say no, Yeah. So there's the example of the, a Chance the Rapper or a Kendrick, where if you built yourself up, you have leverage where, you can argue about the percentage. Like, okay, 20 seems like too much, 10. Yeah. And so you can do that. Now, obviously, because it's a negotiation, they can say yeah or no. You guys can find a middle ground. Or maybe if you don't, you walk away. But inherent to any agreement, you don't have to go into it. But it's Yeah,
I mean, I always say that I don't believe in a bad deal. I don't believe in a bad. Even sometimes when I've done stuff for myself, and I'm like, damn, that was. I don't believe in a bad deal. I believe in the best deal that your bargaining power and your knowledge could get you at that time. Because I think it's always interesting to look in hindsight to say, oh, that was a shit deal, right? Because I remember when that Meg Thee Stallion thing happened, and so many people became lawyers and and JD holders on Twitter. When it's like, yeah, in hindsight, 4 years later, you can look at that deal and be like, that was a bad deal because now you are here. But when she was negotiating it, she was still here. So those terms at that point might have been great for her, and she might have been like, great. And now she's here. And don't get twisted, I do believe in the right to renegotiation, which is why I'd always tell artists, if you can, try building points in any contract where you can renegotiate and say after year 2, let's go back. If I've hit these type of thresholds, these type of numbers, my royalty goes up, or I get this, or I get that. Build that in, because a contract is a fixed document that dealt with what position you were in at that time.
Right.
So make sure you build things in as time goes by, because the contracts, I always say the contract is signed at 0, and within a second one out 1, and 1 has now changed. Somebody else has streamed my music a second after, or somebody else has bought my merch a second after. So the contract now doesn't even deal with the contract. The day that we sign it doesn't even deal with my current position anymore. So always build in that right to negotiate. I'd always tell artists to do that. Even if you don't feel like you have the leverage to get that position now, have faith in yourself that you will have that leverage in a year or 2 years' time. So I had that foresight to build that in.
And just wondering, because you mentioned earlier, you said you still manage artists, correct?
Yeah.
So do you manage artists as an employee of Sony, or do you do that separate from Sony?
Separately. I wear many, many hats.
Yes,
Me too.
Yeah, so I manage artists separately.
Okay, and how does that work in terms of time? Like, how do you
used to just constantly working. As I said, I was used to the whole being a corporate lawyer and working till whatever time and coming home and working again. I'm so used to it that sometimes it got to a point when I have 3 evenings. I'm like, oh damn, what do I do with myself now? I'm a busybody. I'm constantly working. I'm constantly thinking. Even if I'm just sitting down, someone's talking to me, someone's sending me something. Listen to this music. Do this. Do that. I'm also a stylist. So I'm always looking at stuff and styling. So it's just I'm constantly doing stuff. So I'm used to it.
Okay, and just wondering, who are some of the artists that you're managing right now?
So I manage YC is the Afrobeat artist, so I manage him. I'm also currently managing a new artist, actually, so starting her from scratch. A girl called Sedan, and she is a rapper based out in Brooklyn. I actually found her on an A&R tip, so I was like, I was like, great. Pitched her to the label. They were saying it's too early for her, and we carried on still like speaking to each other, and then she asked me to manage her. So right now I'm just trying to A&R her first EP. But she kind of gives me Azalea Banks vibes in that she is very, New York, Brooklyn rapper, but we're trying to have her rapping on very Afro-inspired beats. So not Afro beats, but Afro-inspired beats. So that she can still cross over, because she's Nigerian, called Sudan, and lives in New York. So, and then a new kind of personality called Charlie Mace. So he's a guy who's kind of popping up in the UK now, and that's kind of a new thing. So I started that maybe like 2 weeks ago. And then another presenter called Bissy Atkins. So kind of still low-level people, but just trying to grow with them organically and see where we can go.
Strong. Patrick, you want to go to number 6, or did Julian want to number 6? I don't know.
How the COVID-19 has affected your work and the agency, the
label?
Yeah, the label.
It hasn't. I mean, it's different. Maybe I'm not seeing the numbers in the background to be like, it's really affected us. But I think music is going to stay the same, right? Everyone's online, so it doesn't matter where you are, you're still going to access music. I mean, one thing I know is streaming numbers have gone down slightly. But
really?
Strangely, I thought it would go down. But when I was talking to my colleagues, it was like they were trying to, and then understood that music is still something that it's still an activity-based thing that we do. So you listen to it when you're commuting, in the car, in the gym. It's very rare that someone will just spend the whole day listening to music.
Right.
So although we have a lot of time in the house, the activities that you normally would consume a lot of music, so you'd have a playlist for the gym, right? You have a playlist for your commute, you have a playlist in the car.
Right.
You don't have that anymore because we're at home and people have moved to more audio visual type things. So YouTube, streaming platforms, that type of stuff. So yeah, numbers have gone down slightly. In terms of volume of music, we're still putting out music in the same way. I think maybe it's more difficult for our artists in terms of being able to record. But I know some artists are still making that work. They still go into the studio and self-isolating in the studio, just them and the producer or them and the engineer. But as a label, I'd say not much. We're all still working from home. We still got our laptops. We're still able to have our calls. The music label, the music industry in general, I think live has probably taken the biggest hit because there's no live at all.
Right.
Enough, that's kind of now moved digitally. So now you're seeing a lot of the brands partnering up with artists now do live shows on their IG lives and stuff. So it's now just moved. So people are still performing live. It's just they're performing live on your mobile phone. So yeah, live has definitely taken a big hit. But Sony, we don't do live, so we haven't really felt that effect.
Okay. How are just a segue? How do you think artists are gonna have to deal with the lack of live performances? Because they're saying there might not be live performances till 21, right? So like, how does that affect a future artist's deal? Because you want to make money off of merchandise at a show, touring and stuff like that. But if you can't tour,
Specifically when it comes to us as a label, I don't think it will affect that much anyway. We can still put it in the deal because live will still come back. Right. A deal is not 1 year or 2 years. Sometimes deals are 2-3 years. So live will still come back. I think specifically when you're just talking from an artist point of view is, it is going to be a bit difficult because, there are certain artists that are not big streaming artists, but they are big touring artists.
Right.
So it's now you have to find a way. And I think the artist that will crack this is probably the artist that will be able to survive this is how do I now monetize from me performing live online?
Right.
I kind of like OnlyFans, but music edition. So I think once an artist is able to so once, it probably definitely is going to be that caliber of artist, right? The Beyonce, the Drakes of the world, maybe the Futures of the world. Once they're able to crack that, it's opening up another stream of revenue for artists so that instead of us going out, we're paying for the performance.
Yeah. Which sorry, not to cut you off. Just wondering, given that with the live performances, just wondering, in the label, what's the conversation to talk around these versus battles that are happening? Like, how are you guys processing it?
Well, for us, it's a bit different because there's two different things that we're processing there, right? So we're processing the fact that we're not actually getting paid from Instagram for the broadcast, well, not the broadcast, for the public, for the transmission. I'm trying to use the best copyright term. Making available to the public is probably the best. Right. So we're not, in the UK, and it's slightly different in the US, but in the UK, that's a right protected by copyright. The right to make my music available to the public, which is why we have PRS, which collects your publishing, and then we have PPL, which collects just the exploitation, the master. So if you are going to go to a bar or a club or a concert, they are licensed entities, so they pay a license fee every year, and all that money is collected into a pot. So if you guys call it sound exchange, that's basically what sound exchange does. So you collect it into this pot, and then we calculate whose music's been played publicly, and then we distribute the money, right? In the case of Instagram, we don't make that money. Instagram doesn't have a license for us. So to that extent, yes, there's that loss of income in that way. However, I think we shouldn't take, and I think also as a label, we don't tend to take a short-term view to worry about, oh my God, we haven't got paid for that specific Insta Live, because that will also translate to people going back and listen to that catalog. Right? So it means that people will now go and listen to, oh my God, I haven't listened to 112 and 112 in a while, or Jagged Edge in a while, or Beanie Man in the Wild, you go and you stream that music crazy.
Hey, it was good music choices.
So
that Beanie Man was
exactly. Oh, I literally was living my good life. I remember when I was like 15, putting on tables. So you can't take the short-term view to say, well, I want to kill this because I'm not getting any money for the streaming. When you think about the long-term thing of actually is introducing that music and that catalog, because a lot of these people aren't even like people that are making music now. A lot of those people are catalog artists, legacy artists whose catalog has been out for 10, 15 years. So why would you not want a spike in catalog that you don't even have to do anything to market anymore?
Okay.
Like, I'm not putting any more dollars or any more pounds into marketing Ludacris's Chicken and Beer album, but my streams have gone up 200%.
Right.
Why would you be mad at that from a business standpoint? From a principle standpoint, yes, I guess it's annoying for labels because, yes, and I think it's more because we'd like Instagram to tidy up that loophole and just to pay it, but,
Is there anybody like all the pros you're talking about? Have you heard, maybe not necessarily at Sony, but any of the labels talking about how they can get in on this or?
No, I think, and I think because also Versus is a very US specific thing. Whereas in the UK we have, and this is why I love Black ingenuity, but there's a radio station that we have here called There's No Signal. And it was just like a bunch of young Black men who started a radio station from their bedroom, basically. And they are doing the same type of clashes, but it's not the artists themselves. It's like two hosts who come, they pick 10 of the best songs to clash each other. And so now what you're finding very funny is because labels know that they have like this dedicated listenership for a certain amount of time, they're actually like premiering songs and artists in the ad breaks of that radio station. So that's also strange enough. And I remember in the first label meeting after one of the verses that was happening, and our digital team was like, and this we have like an exclusive premiere of this artist's song, and and then you look at Twitter and you see the effect of Twitter and everyone talking about this song. So I think in terms of as a Black person, I'd love to see Black people owning those type of platforms, in terms of Versus and ours, There's No Signal. So I'd like to see labels not necessarily get involved in the ownership way. But if there's a way that you can work with these platforms to try to break your artists, whatever, great. But as a Black person, I'd love to see those things stay in Black ownership in the community.
This is great. So speaking about Blackness or Africanness, based on the recent Billboard magazine, the Africa issue, why do you think the generation generation of Congolese music or musicians don't have the same notoriety as, let's say, the West African counterparts? I have my own. Me and Patrick and Julian talked about this off camera. I think it's the language. Like we speak French. You know what I mean?
I think that's the biggest thing. But I think also the focus that I would like to do is for Congolese and maybe Francophone people to maybe stop. And this is me, take this with a pinch of salt of what I'm saying, right? But I think it's also that we tend to have a little bit of an inferiority complex when it comes to dealing with West African artists. Instead of actually arming ourselves with the facts, right? West African artists are bigger than Francophone artists. They're not. Numbers-wise, they're not touching a lot of our artists. They're not touching a lot of Congolese artists. But because they are able to manage their propaganda and what they put out to the world, they're able to seem bigger than they are, right? Aya Nakamura, for example, Jaja has streamed 500 million views on YouTube, I think. Let me check because I like having the right facts. Aya Nakamura. Aya Nakamura. Yeah, Jaja now has 552 million views on YouTube, right? Right? There's no West African artist that's touched those type of numbers.
I mean, what is it with Gims? What he did with what is it? When he sold out the Stade de Paris, or
exactly, Maître Gims. There's no West African artist that's doing those type of things, but they're able to manage their propaganda so that they seem like this is the biggest music industry coming out of Africa. It's not. Even when you look at it, last year, the biggest, in the last quarter, I think it was, the biggest song coming out of Africa was not a West African song. And in terms of YouTube, I'm not talking about streaming. Because streaming it's a little bit more complicated. It was not a West African song. It was a Congolese and East African.
Yeah.
It was Inos B. It was Inos B. And, so, and at that point, he was maybe like 50 million views by the end of the last quarter of 2019. But I think it's just the way that they're able to manage their propaganda and able to leverage on what they have. I think what we need to do is be able to also leverage that to sell the culture back to the West, even if we are French speaking, because actually, if you think about it, how many people speak Yoruba compared to French? French is more of a unifying language, but you still have Wizkid in a song telling you Yoruba or David or Yoruba, people still like it. So I guess there is that language barrier, but I think it's more we need to learn how to sell our culture.
Yes.
The way that the Nigerian people have done it.
Yeah. Which
go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say, because I think it takes us to the next question. So obviously before this whole pandemic stuff, we know that, Fali did that big concert. And what I wanted to just first to start off, with the concert ban, which for those who are watching, some of our like non-Congolese, non-African viewers, the concert ban, and Christel, please correct me if I'm wrong. The way I understand it, this concert ban has been going on in Europe. It was for at least 10, 12 years, where essentially you had activists who maybe they didn't like what certain Congolese artists were saying about Congolese politics, or just didn't like the fact that they weren't saying anything at all. So essentially there was a ban pretty much all across Europe. Congolese artists, if they tried to come and say, hey, I'm doing a concert, these people would protest it and shut them down. So for a good 10, 12 years, many of our biggest artists out of Congo, Fali, Kofi, Kofi had his legal trouble, so he couldn't even do it if he wanted to. But, artists could not tour in Europe. And then most recently, Fali went and had, his, what was it, Bercy, or was it Olympia?
Bercy, I think it was Bercy.
Bercy. So he had a concert, sold out, huge thing. So just wondering, for you first, how do you feel about the concert ban? What's your stance on it?
I think I would put that as one of the biggest reasons why our music industry isn't where it was before. I always say this to my friends that actually understand African music, that Congolese music was probably one of the first Pan-African music of the continent, right?
Right.
So you could go to a Nigerian party and hear Awilo, or you would hear a Kofi song, or you would hear that type of stuff. Even the fact that people would mistake Magic System as a Congolese band as opposed to a Nigerian band was testament to the fact that that was one of the first Pan-African genres on the continent.
I was Congolese for till maybe a year ago. I didn't
find out until college.
So I think that was it, and I think that ban really did serve a big disservice to us in that we weren't able to export our culture. You weren't able to have people experience our music live compared to how they're able to with other people.
Can I ask this question? Do you is it because, just from the outside looking in, we don't collaborate enough? There's too much in-house fighting? Because that's a good way. If you have somebody that has 100 million fans and another person that has 80 million fans, in the South in rap, they all work together. They all do rap together. Because it's yo, I'm popping, you're hot, let's make music together. It just helps out the energy of the music to continue.
But when you say collaboration, what do you mean? As in within Congolese or with other artists?
Within Congolese?
Well, within Congolese, I don't think it serves to do anything but just reinforce your music to the same audience. The point of a feature, if you're looking at it from just a purely A&R scientific thing, is to have a new audience introduced to that music, right? So that's why you would have a rap feature on a pop song, because you're hoping that pop artist fans will then be introduced to the rapper, and vice versa, the rapper to the pop. The rapper's fans introduced to the pop. So if you're just going to have a Congolese artist feature with another Congolese artist, you're just serving the same market. You need to do what Inos B did, is go and do it with a Tanzanian or a South African or a Nigerian or a Ghanaian, which then means that you're introducing that person into a new market. It means that your culture is being seen by a new person, a person that doesn't understand Lingala, a person that doesn't understand what we're talking about. That's the only way that it would, and that's why you have Inos B doing that, where Tanzania is a massive market, or Tanzania is a massive market in terms of music, because the Swahili unifies 3 or 4 countries, right? Unifies Kenya, some of Uganda, some of Tanzania, a little bit of Zambia. A lot of those East African countries are unified by that one single language. So that's why it made that a very good collab in my eyes. But it's something that Nigerian artists realized a very long time ago. When you had Davido doing songs with Diamond Platnumz, or doing songs with what are they called? What are the South African band? I can't remember. Mafikizolo. Because you're trying to introduce yourself to a new market. And I think that's what our artists need to do. You need to start featuring with people and introducing yourself to new markets. Come away from the Francophone market and maybe try Lusophone or English speaking and just try and make it work. And I think it's the same way that, what's his name? Who's that Ivorian guy that just died? DJ Arafat did that.
Yeah. Hey.
Very well when he started doing it with Nigerian artists. So then now Nigeria knew DJ Arafat.
Right.
Fali does it, no?
Yeah, he does. He's done quite a few.
Yeah. He does it. I think he learned early on that that's what he needs to do. He does it. He definitely does do it. But I think also what kind of plays Fali as well is, he's also that fashion icon. He's a good-looking guy. So you're able to hit a lot of the, you're able to hit a lot of fans.
Yeah, that's very real. Because it's funny you mention that because, in our music, there's certain artists we have, they're big back home, but they're not really big outside of Congo. Like there's people like Ferragola who would be like, oh yeah, he's huge, but not so much outside of like our circles, So it's just like, that's pretty deep. Like just making sure you work with other people, just maybe the next country over. It can make a difference.
That's it. Next country over, we're still very familiar. East African culture is still very familiar to us. Swahili is still a kind of language that you can kind of, if you listen very carefully, you can still kind of understand what they say. When I'm in Zanzibar or Tanzania or Kenya, I can understand. I can get by and understand kind of what they're saying.
Right.
So even just as simple as going just across the border, doing a track with Sauti Sol or Eddie Kenzo from Uganda, or even if you want to talk about other Bantu, go and do a track with Nasty C in South Africa. That's the type of stuff that you can be doing.
Pat or Julie, you guys want to get number 8?
Wait here. So
we already touched number 8.
I'm sorry, number 9. I'm sorry.
How we can nurture, develop, and propel the Congolese music industry?
I think we need to really learn how to. Firstly, I think we need to learn how to export our culture first, and the music will follow. Right. So make being Congolese cool. The little phrases that people might pick up and the strange was in my group chat. One of my friends is from Sierra Leone, and we were saying something, and she kind of had a run, and she goes, Mawa, and I was just like, huh? I was like, what do you like that? She was like, remember she said, remember my best friends are Congolese. So just those little things, exporting our food, exporting our fashion, exporting the things about our culture. And once you're able to do that, the music will follow. Because unfortunately, it's hard to export music without people understanding maybe the history that the music's come from, the culture that music's come from. Because our music is very culturally different from other people's, right?
Yeah.
Our music is very culturally different. Even people understanding, why is the song 12 minutes long?
Right. You got to burn out the mikate. That's why when you're at a party.
Yeah. Or why they bring some random person in the middle of the song? Who's Adolphe Mudikosi? Who is this guy they're talking about? Like, look, we gotta make money. Don't worry about it. Just keep dancing.
Yeah, you get so it's like I think that's what we need to do first. Secondly, I think we definitely do need to get out of or get ourselves away from this whole concert ban crap. I think it hasn't served to do anything because I think one thing that I can respect about countries like Ghana and Nigeria, maybe it's all Ghana because I've lived there and I can see the changes, is that they've been able to export that culture, and that exportation has meant that people are now inclined to go to Ghana and visit Ghana and invest in Ghana. So then we see the impact that culture and music has now had on their tourism, on their development, has had on their investment that they actually have as a country. And I think also just taking over, like if we change the narrative of the countries about as well, that will help. So we're not just seen as the country that loves to dance. Yes, we do love to dance, but we make beautiful music. You know, we have very talented artists, talented writers, talented producers. I think also we need to try and shed light on all those type of people as well. The producers, because obviously that's also what West Africans have. It's not just their artists that are well known. It's also their producers. It's also their writers. It's also people in the background, and that are all known and that all make up the music industry as a whole, not just an artist.
Yeah, because it's, you know, in America, what do they say? The number one export is Black culture. That's the number one. Everybody got tats. Everybody says the N-word. Everybody has that backwards. There's Bloods and Crips in parts of the world where there's not even gangbanging. So you know what I mean? Like, no, that's real. I mean, I don't know. We're on a smaller scale right now, but I can see when, you know, the Mikate video, how I have my non-Congolese friends, they'll see me, because I don't like peanut butter on Mikate, where they're like, oh, Mikate, the beignet. And they'll come up to me and I'll be like, oh, yeah, I didn't even know you were watching it. But it's like, okay, I understand, you know, because, you know, you're exporting that culture. Wow, I never looked at it like that.
Yeah. Make it familiar so that even if they don't understand all the language, that culture is still familiar to them. You know, even when I look at like Japanese people and that kind of whole dance hall, the underground dance hall culture that they have there, but you know, half of the time I'm sure they don't understand what they're saying, but they're brought into that culture, the dance hall culture, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, what is it with Serge Ibaka? What he did with his cooking show, or that one episode where he had them eating kwanga and fumbwa. You know, like I saw that on like non-Congolese pages. It was like, oh wow, it worked.
Especially, yeah, so that's what we need to do.
I guess did she answer number 10, Patrick, or should I go to?
I mean, we can touch on it. Yeah.
Okay. Christel, do you think Congolese musicians have the responsibility to use their platforms to affect change back home?
Oh, definitely. I think anyone that has a platform has the responsibility to affect change in whatever community they're in. I think if you are going to take $1 or $2 from anyone to listen to your music or come to your show, you have a responsibility to make sure that you're not the only person living in wealth in that country, you know? Like, so if you know that you can have a private conversation with the minister of this and that can make a difference, or you can do this to make a difference, and definitely do it, because I think what's the point of you just living in a country where you're the only person making music and everyone is paying into your pockets, but you're not doing anything with that influence, you're not doing anything. So I definitely understand why the combatants at the beginning were like, well, you guys should actually speak on these issues. And if you're not, then, you know, there's an issue. I definitely think there is. I think we have a big problem in our country. And I think, one, artists can be the people that can shine a light to that, to the wider community, you know, the wider community that will care. And two, if you have influence, you know, influence with the people on the ground that make the decisions, then yeah, definitely, because it can't just be that you are the only person benefiting from this.
Right. This is great. We're good. This is our last question, but before we get to the last question, this has been one of the best podcasts, like episodes. Like this is freaking great. You
gotta have you back. There's so much more we can ask you. So
no, you gave us like,
please come back.
You gave us like $100 information and music. Like this is incredible. But we do.
I can come back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. Come back. Yeah. That'd be great. We ask this question to everyone. What is your spirit animal? So what's an animal that you share characteristic with, or you wish you could share characteristic with?
Caterpillar.
Interesting.
What? Really? You've thought about this? That was like
I'm a
very specific. Yeah.
Because I understand that process of, I understand that process of hibernation, and so I guess because I'm looking at the notes that you guys have, and even my journey in terms of doing 3 or 4 years at uni and law school, I was very antisocial. I didn't talk to anyone. I understood there was a process for me to get where I was getting to as a Black female.
Yeah.
So I understood you have to work hard, you have to get these type of grades, and you have to make these type of sacrifices, which is what I see in my kind of cocooning stage. And then when I graduated and I was able to actually become a lawyer and do what I want to do, is me turn into a butterfly. So, yeah, that's why I say I'm a caterpillar.
No, that's a great answer. When I hear caterpillar, I think of Julian, what's that food that we eat with the caterpillar? What is it?
Oh yeah.
Misili.
Yeah. Oh, I hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it too.
That smell is.
Yeah.
I tried it once. I spit it out. I was like, I can't.
It's heavy. It's heavy in protein. But I can't do it. What you call it? You guys have any more questions or anything?
I did have one. Obviously, we're talking about like uplifting the Congolese music industry, our Congolese artists and everything like that. So obviously you got the current people, the youngsters, but I'm wondering, how do we get some of the older musicians, the old guard? Because for instance, somebody told me this and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, for instance, with like as an example, Jibe and We're Our Song. Like, that legendary concert Jibe did, I think it was at Olympia, whatever. It's the tape everybody had growing up, right? Like you see it, Congo to Global posted, Voice of Congo posted like every 3 weeks or something like that.
The Congo to Global is actually my cousin, strangely enough.
Oh, word, really?
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, that's my cousin.
Oh, okay, cool. Hey,
world.
Small world. But I bring that up because somebody had told me, I guess, for a long time, like those things weren't available for purchase through the artist, or like some of those albums, some of those videos like weren't available for purchase digitally for a very long time. And it's like, that's money sitting on the table. But I don't know, is it an issue of maybe some of our older musicians they don't have the right people in their camp, like, hey, get in on this technology thing because we still love it. Obviously, we see it. Oh, I remember that, memories, but they don't seem to be capitalizing on that.
Yeah, I was binge watching.
I definitely do think, because obviously also that was the issue of distribution, right? So that was the only way. If you remember back in the day, the only way that we were getting that was by DVDs, well, video first, and then it became DVDs, and you buy it in the store or whatever. So that was a big issue about distribution. And how the distribution channels right at that time was very fixed. So yeah, definitely, I think they need to be educated that there's a new type of distribution. We're now doing things digitally. Get on that, it's easier for people to access your material and stuff. So yeah, I think definitely there needs to be that education. But as I said, that's why it's not always just about shining the light on the artists, but actually who are the people in the industry that are also there that can uplift people, the A&Rs, the producers, the people that understand the music business, who are they to actually teach these other
people? Okay. Let's see. Patrick, Julie, any more questions?
No, this has been incredible, like the job knowledge, the amount of information I was just like in class and absorbed everything I could. So
I was just learning. Yes, there. I mean, well, I don't want to plug your social media because you don't want people to like berate you and stuff.
Oh, let me go ahead and just edit that out.
Yeah.
No, I don't mind. I actually don't mind. I don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Well,
my Insta's private anyway, so I get to screen the.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, let me.
That's fine. You can share. I don't have a problem at all. You can share that. My Insta.
Okay, so let me boom, and then So yeah, I guess we're in the plug-in stage. So
yeah. So
Look at that.
So that's her Instagram. If you guys want to follow her and just follow, and she'll decide if she'll follow you back if you can come into her work. Right. You can follow me, Blake Owisa, Zizi. You can follow Bantu Boyz. Instagram. Like us on Facebook, YouTube. What is it? We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Like, share. Barry, be able to follow me. Julian, plug your Instagram.
Chickens at Gmail.
Okay. Julian, your accent is French. So are you based in the States as well, or are you based in?
I'm in the States, but I grew up in Belgium.
Ah, so yes, because your accent is très français.
And Pat, go ahead. Plug your IG.
So you can hit me on Instagram, Congolese.YouTubers or African.YouTubers. We promote the culture, whether it's Congo or the diaspora.
Holla. And like I said, Christel, we want to thank you so much for being on this podcast. And thank you so much. And expect an email from me. You probably expect it in a day or two because this information is like, it's second to none.
No worries. Email me.
Okay. All right. And if that, we'll see you guys next week. Merci.
Take care, guys. Thank you.